Okay, so now we're into the meat of this thing. So we have this scene, and we're going to talk really quickly about how this scene is constructed and why it's constructed that way. I'm just going to create a new flash scene here so we can kind of see what I'm talking about. Right now we have this character, and all this is the character symbol inside of our scene here, inside of our stage. Right? And so we also have all of these other symbols here, and each of these you'll see are what makes up this character. So if I double click on this character symbol, you'll see that each of these kind of have their own layer in here. So all of these are just symbols, all of these symbols here inside of the character symbol. Okay, and so we have that, of course, for the same reason we have the bouncing ball in its own symbols. So we can animate animations on this character, and then within the scene we can animate that whole placement of that character to move around. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a walk cycle with this character. And so to do a walk cycle, we've talked about this quite a bit, or we've talked about this in class, but I'm just going to find us a reference image of a good walk cycle just to use as reference for the different poses we're going to be using. So in this case, I'm using Richard Williams' example, and it's got some, it hasn't been 4 hours. This one. It has some good examples, it has some bad, or has some good points and has some bad points, but overall it's a pretty good example. So if I look at this, what we have here are the different poses that make up a walk cycle. There's a contact, a down, a passing pose, an up, and then another contact. Now keep in mind this contact is a mirror of the first contact, where in this contact the character's right leg is forward, and this one the character's left leg is forward. So to do a whole cycle, we have to end back up in exactly this same pose, and this is a mirrored version of that pose. So it means for a whole cycle we have to go through all of this again with the other, like as a mirrored version of it, with the other side of the body, right? So we have to go through from this contact to another down, to another passing pose, to another up, and then back to this contact. Okay, and so what we end up with is really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 poses, and then 10 is the loop point. The other contact is the loop point. We also talked about sort of the time that it takes for a walk cycle to happen, and we're gonna do our walk cycle in about 1 second. So it's going to go through all 10 of those poses in about 1 second. Now, so that's 24 frames per second. So that means our walk cycle is going to be about 24 frames. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go inside of my character, but I don't really want to ruin the character. So I'm going to actually replace this or duplicate this with one that if I mess up, I don't have to start all the way over from scratch, right? So I'm just going to duplicate this, and we'll call this character walk. All right. Keep in mind again that was a graphic symbol, not a movie clip. Excuse me. So I'm going to go into character walk. I'm not actually going to do it that way. The first thing I want to point out is that this is still the character symbol that is on our stage here. So I want to replace it with the character walk symbol. So if I right click and say swap symbol, I can swap it with the character walk. And so a nice thing about that is now I can double click this symbol, and now I'm inside of the character walk symbol where I want to be. Okay, so we have our timeline of all the different traits of this, or all the different body parts of this character. Zoom in here close where we can see it. And I'm just going to go ahead and start setting up my first pose, which is the contact pose. So the contact pose is the first leg forward making contact with the ground. If a walk is a perpetual fall forward, right? The character falls forward and catches themselves, and then they push themselves forward again, sort of over top of this leg, and then they start to fall forward and they catch themselves again. Okay, so the contact pose is the pose right as the character is getting ready to catch themselves. It's where one foot is touching the ground and the other foot is sort of pushing off from behind them. So we're going to go ahead and sort of create our contact pose, and we're going to do this on frame 1. Okay, so I'm just going to go in here again using my free transform tool. I'm just going to start posing in the character to kind of be in the pose the way I want it to be. So So we get something like this. Keep in mind, I'm still looking at the reference every now and then on my other screen. You may not be able to see it, but it's probably a good idea to go ahead and look up all that reference yourself, and so you'll have that in place. There we go. If you have trouble selecting certain objects too, you can always select them by clicking on their keyframe here. So if I drag that, you'll see I just highlighted that part of the leg. Okay, so I'm probably going to say, seems a little too extreme. Sort of pull back just a little bit on both of these. And I'm actually starting with my other leg, with my, in this case with the character's left leg forward, just because I think that works better because that's the first one that's forward here, and the way the original illustration was drawn. So I guess something in here. So we'll say something like that maybe. Do not want that. So I'm just kind of nudging it around. Okay, so now we have that pose. The thing that is missing now, or the next step that we need is we need the point where it's going to loop, the point where it's going to go all the way through and it's going to end at that same pose. So we're going to go ahead and put our last keyframe in, and it's just going to be a duplicate of our first keyframe. So go insert keyframe, and so now we have our first and our last pose. Okay, so I'm going to divide this in half, and so since we started on frame 1 and we're going to frame 25, that would actually be frame 13. So I'm going to insert a keyframe there to get my new pose. Now, what is this pose? If we look at this, it would be easy to mistake it as the passing pose, right? But keep in mind, this is only half of the walk cycle. We have to make it from here to here, and then all the way back again to another pose, which would be here again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this contact pose. Okay, and of course it's mirrored because I'm starting with the other leg. But we'll use the sort of the mirrored contact pose of our first contact pose. Now, this is where a shortcut key comes in handy. It's the greater than and less than keys, or comma and period, and that'll let you step back and forth between those two keys, right? So basically, I'm just going to go in here and start working with this to try to get a roughly mirrored version of my current contact pose. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of get it somewhere close, and then I'll use my period and comma keys to figure out what's wrong with it. Get a little bit of a curve in there. Something like that. A little bit of a push off. Raise that up. And so now if I flip back and forth, we'll see it's not bad. I'm going to go ahead and lower this one just a little bit. Okay, and so now if I watch this animation, we'll see it playing back like that. Okay, and I'll go ahead and set this to loop, so when we do decide we want to watch it, flash. Set this to loop, so when we do decide we want to watch it, we can actually watch it repeating. Okay, so now that we have that, we can actually start seeing this as a transition if we would like. So I'm just going to highlight all my first keys, right click, and say create classic tween. And so you're going to see that that's going to tween in between those. I'll do it again on here. And so now we're going to get sort of the early workings of a walk cycle. Now it's not perfect. A lot of people would stop there. I'm not gonna. Because we need to kind of look at some of our other poses that are still left on. So a lot of people are not a huge fan of, well, some people are not a huge fan of this because there are some things that are not right about it. One, the character's spine is very stiff. There's no movement in the spine. And two is this foot comes up off the ground way too far. I also think the arm swing's a little big. But that's the pose we're going to go for next, as our passing pose. And this is the pose where the character's um, uh, rear leg, whichever leg is in the back, so in this case the darker leg, is moving from behind the character to in front of the character. So it's the point where it's passing in front. I guess for our first passing pose, it'll actually be the lighter leg passing from behind to in front. So we'll go to about halfway through. And so one of the nice things about setting the tweens early is we get a little bit of this pose for free, right? Part of this is already working for us. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift. I'll go ahead and pose this leg in the passing pose. Go ahead and do a little bit of this. I want to lift it up off the ground. Also drag the toe a little bit back behind. I usually like to straighten the leg a little bit. That's just me being a little bit nitpicky, and make sure that leg is feeling sort of flat on the ground. Okay. Now, also with the passing pose, the character is sort of moving back upward, right? So sometimes I'll drag the head forward, so just a little bit, and so we get, and we'll see what we're talking about with the character moving back upward in a second here. So we get a little bit of that, and so we'll go in here and we'll insert a keyframe, and we'll start making the mirrored version of that pose. Now the interesting thing is, in this case, the head can be exactly the same. So I can right click on this keyframe, say copy frames. So I'm just making sure it's still recording. Say copy frames on that, and then over here I can paste frames, and you can see that those are the same two heads, and the only real difference is the legs, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab all this leg, twist it a little bit, nudge it a little bit, but the biggest thing is I'm going to try to straighten it out. So straighten that, maybe so it go down. A little bit more like that. Right. Okay, and the next thing that needs to happen is we need to get this left leg into a position for the passing pose. So the upper leg goes forward a little bit. Nope. The lower leg and the foot sort of rotates back here and kind of drags behind, right? So we get that. And so now if we watch this walk, it's not too bad. So again, a lot of people would stop here. I'm not going to, because I think that we can still get a lot of weight in this. Right now the character is not got a lot of weight, and we got a couple areas where the legs are starting to break, so we're going to have to put more key poses in here anyway to clean that up. We may as well focus on the weight. So I'm going to input a keyframe right here about halfway in between those two, and this key pose is going to be our down pose. So this is where the character is sort of absorbing the weight that is coming down from the contact pose. So the thing that changes here, the foot flattens out, right? The leg kind of squashes or bends, right? Like this. And the body goes down, like pretty significantly. And so sometimes I'll rotate it forward a little bit too. And so we get that. You see how it kind of feels like that leg is absorbing that weight? Okay. And so I think there's still a little bit we can do here. Clean this up just a touch. Okay, and then maybe up a little bit. There we go. And I'm just using the arrow keys to kind of nudge this around. There we go. And so now we're going to we're also going to look at the back leg, because right now the back leg just starts to drift forward, but I wanted to make it feel like the character is sort of pushing off from the ground. So I'll just push it back like that. maybe straighten it just a touch. Sort of flip the toe back. Maybe overall I'll just lift it up off the ground a little bit more too. And so now it feels like that foot's sort of pushing off and then flipping forward, right? Okay, so then I'll go out here and I'll do again, insert keyframe. The nice thing is I get the head for free. Get copy frames, paste frames. And so then I just really have to get that that down pose. So we're going to have our character kind of absorb that weight, right? A little bit like that. And then we really got to flatten this foot out to show that it went flat when the weight was absorbed. And then again, we're going to go back here to this back leg, and we're just going to have that back leg sort of push off a little bit back behind him. Probably do that, and then flip that foot back a little bit. Let's see how that feels. Not bad. Okay, so we're going to do one more thing. We're going to do one more key poses to help this really work, and that's our up pose. So if I insert a keyframe, I'm going to look at our pose. The up pose is the pose right past the passing pose. The character is kind of imbalanced in the passing pose, but they push themselves forward out of balance and start to fall forward. And so they're flipping this front leg out to try to catch themselves, right? And so this is the highest pose that the character is ever in, and that's why it's called the up pose. So if we go in here, am I on the up pose? I am. So right now we kind of already have something that's close, right? So I can now just adjust this head, make that feel like it's the highest point. Again, we could always grab this thing and do some ghosting if we really wanted to see if it was or not. And so I could make that go even higher, and I could look at our overall. Okay. So anyway, that's not really showing what we need to see. So that maybe is a little too high now. Pull it back down. And I'm going to exaggerate how up the foot is. So something like that and that. Right. And so now the character is sort of flipping their foot out there and catching themselves, right? And so we'll just go over here and do the same thing again. Insert keyframe. So that's the up pose there. So copy frames. Paste frames. And again, kind of exaggerate the height of this foot. Maybe even more. And so if we watch it now, that's not bad. Like, that's actually a pretty decent walk cycle. And so all that's really left is if we want to go through and sort of tweak some of the little issues where the legs doesn't always feel like it's perfectly together. And so we have a walk cycle. So the last thing we can kind of think of is the character's head feels a little dead. It's walking, but its eyes never do anything. So let's go in here and do sort of an eye blink on this. So if I double click on this, there's a couple different ways we could do an eye blink, but the one that I do in here is I can just right click and insert a new keyframe on frame 2. Now this is inside of the head symbol, right? And so what I'm going to do is on this frame 2, on the eyes, I'm going to swap this symbol for eye blink. Okay? And so if I were to set this to loop, basically what would happen is it would play, sorry, apparently I can't just loop 2 frames. I don't know why, but right, if I set that to loop, it's just going to sit there and flutter the eyes, right? And so if I go to my character walk and hit play, I'm going to get the same thing. It's going to just flutter the eyes as he walks. So what we're going to do, the reason it's doing that is because if I select the symbol and go in here, this symbol is set to play whatever is inside the symbol at a loop, and it's going to start on frame 1. So I'm actually just going to set that to single frame and go ahead and leave it on frame 1. Now we could have done this before we actually started setting any keyframes on the head had we realized we were going to, and then all of these would still be set to single frame on frame 1. But we didn't really know that was going to happen. I mean, I did, but and we don't always plan ahead for that. So sometimes it takes a little bit of this tedious one frame at a time, you know, fix it stuff. Single frame. Okay, and now what we can do is we can pick a frame in here where we want our character to blink. So maybe it's this section here, and I can go in there and I can just set that to frame 2. Right? And so now if I watch this animation, the character is going to blink right there every time it gets to it. Now the last thing we need to think about is the fact that this character is also it's looping, but there's actually a little hitch at the end of it. You'll see it kind of hesitates right there at the end, and that's because we have this duplicate start and end pose, the same exact frame. So if I just set a keyframe right before that last frame, that will sort of nail down our second to last frame, right? And then I can remove these. Okay, so now our animation is 1 frame shorter, but the character does a full cycle with a blink, right? And so we can watch this and sorry, that's watch that loop forever, right? Okay, keep in mind this has all been within the character walk symbol, okay, not out in the main scene. So if we go out into the main scene, you'll see that again all we have is 1 keyframe of this symbol at this location. Right, so I could go out here to frame 80 or something like that, say insert keyframe, and what this is going to do is it's going to play that symbol for 80 frames, and we're just going to see that animation happen over and over again for that entire duration. But at the same time I can also do animation on this, so similar to animating the phone or moving the phone across the screen as the video plays on the phone. This is similar. This is very similar way of working with that. So on frame 1, I want it to be back there. It's just going to walk forever in frame 1. On frame 80, I want it to be here. And at the current way this would play, it would walk forever on one side of the screen, and then pop to frame 80, right? But if I right-click here and say Create Classic Tween, we're going to get our character just walking across our scene. Now there's still things we can do inside of this symbol. Like there's things that, you know, like the character's head hits right there, and not all of that is absolutely necessary, right? We could also always, you know, sort of offset some of this and do little changes to it to increase the way it plays, or you know, improve the way that we want it to play. But just know that that's all things that we can just go back and change inside the symbol. In fact, we can drag as many of these characters in here as we want. I don't want to do that on there. Again, I want to insert a new layer to do something like that, and then I'm just going to drag this in here. And so let's actually do something different. I don't know why it doesn't show up until I unclick it. I'm going to go to this side of the scene. Right. I'm going to go Modify, Transform, Flip horizontally, right. And then out here I'm going to insert a keyframe. Hold Shift, the character go over to there. And so basically what's going to happen is it's going to pop over there, and then again I can do the Create Classic Tween. I'll put this down a layer so it happens behind the other one. So like, how you doing, Frank? How you doing, Bill? And we can even change sort of what frame this thing starts on. So instead of looping starting on frame 1, we'll start on frame 6. So they're both at different points in their walk cycle, and it doesn't feel so systematic, right? Okay. So I actually have an example of something I posted a little bit earlier, of just some of the different things we can do, or just some of the different things I did using a walk cycle and a jump that I did, just sort of playing around in class. Everything that you see in that scene probably took less than an hour, probably closer to 45 minutes. And so that gives you an idea of what, how quickly we can start building stuff with Flash, using these sort of repurposing parts of the animation. So I'm going to go ahead and press stop now, and I will upload these videos, and you can watch them, and hopefully they're helpful. Just let me know. Post on Google Plus if you have any questions about them, or send me an email if you still are confused on something and need me to clarify it even more. So I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.